A very good Tuesday morning to everybody out there. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Regular Fan Show, a podcast hosted by fans for fans, with your hosts, Vinny Fredericks, and my guy, Bruce Juno. Of course, always a good time again to host with you, my friend. Good morning, brother. How we doing?
Good morning, friend. How are we?
Oh, we're
We're
good. We're good.
yeah, dude. We're chilling. We're vibing. A lot of action this weekend. You know, uh, yeah, we're living life out here. It was a fun packed weekend with
It
obviously
was.
lots of. It was a wild card weekend. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously we're gonna touch on that soon. I got my
Yeah.
coffee. You got your pretty sick Gators sweatshirt on,
Ah,
and
thank you. Appreciate
we're
you
we're
noticing.
yeah, dude. That's a sweet. It's a sweet Gators sweatshirt. Dude, I like the white on white.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I mean, we were talking about it before we went on. I was looking in the closet trying to figure out what piece of apparel I wanted to wear for today's show, and I was thinking, well, the Miami Heat, they lost last night to the Clippers, so I didn't want to wear a Heat shirt. They I won't say they suck because they won 3 games in a row before last night, but they lost. I'm not going to come out here and flaunt my Heat gear. The Yankees, it's the off season, doing all right. They're having a solid off season, but nothing big going on with them. So I didn't want to wear a Yankees shirt. And I mean, the Dallas Cowboys are garbage. So there's no way I was going to wear any Cowboys merch. So Gators it is. They play tonight against Missouri. So at least it's somewhat it makes sense for what's going on today, just because they're
Yeah, I mean,
playing tonight anyway.
it works out. Hey, I mean, but in the sense of the Cowboys, what was your? I just want to get this, out of the way. What was your
We're,
thoughts
we're
on?
jumping right into it, huh?
Yeah, we are. Well, I just want to know, like, your personal, professional, educated, non-biased opinion on Mike McCarthy and slash Deion Sanders meeting with Jerry
Oof.
Jones.
Wow. I mean, in a completely well-educated, unbiased manner, I would say Jerry Jones is a freaking idiot. And from a completely biased fan perspective, I would say Jerry Jones is a freaking idiot because year in and year out with this Cowboys team, anyone else who's a Cowboys fan knows that it's the same story every single year. Jerry Jones goes into every year saying, I want to build a winning football team. I'll spend however much money it takes. I will do whatever, the whatever it takes to get this team back to a Super Bowl. And it's been, let's see, when was their last Super Bowl? 96, I want to say, 95, somewhere around there. So it's been about almost 30 years since they've even sniffed a Super Bowl. There you go. Yeah, Jerry Jones is a freaking idiot. And the way that he's handled this Mike McCarthy thing makes no sense because they didn't even get close in negotiations. A contract wasn't even brought up. They talked about how the last few years went, what the plans for the future of the team look like. They didn't even get close to an actual contract conversation. They didn't even talk about extending him. So what that tells me is Jerry from the get-go knew he was not going to extend Mike McCarthy. So why did he decide to wait until January 14th to start actually looking for other head coaches? Why wasn't he interviewing Mike Vrabel or Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn before all these guys got scooped up? And now Vrabel's already off the market. Johnson and Glenn already have most of their interviews set out. They're not going to, when they already have all these interviews scheduled, they're not going to suddenly add the Cowboys in because the Cowboys aren't exactly a very favorable job opening. If I were a head coach right now and I had the choices between who else is there? Chicago, New Orleans, Jacksonville, Jets, Giants, and Dallas Cowboys. If I had the choice between any of those teams as a head coach, I'm certainly not putting the Cowboys at the top of that list because any head coach that comes to the Dallas Cowboys is going to know you're going to get a lot of media attention and you're going to face a lot of scrutiny because whatever goes wrong with the Cowboys next year, you're the scapegoat. You're the guy that they're going to blame. They're not going to blame Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons. They're certainly not going to blame Jerry Jones because he's the one that is signing all their paychecks, but they're going to blame the head coach. And I don't think there's really that many good options out there. I mean, obviously Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, there are a couple from the Lions that are going to be now that Mike Vrabel's gone, the hottest commodities in the coaching market, but the Cowboys aren't going to sign them. And all of a sudden, what? The Cowboys are going to pivot to Deion Sanders? Are you kidding me? He's not leaving
Yeah, prime
Colorado.
time, baby. Prime time, baby. Oh, did we lose Vinny? It's a bad time to say prime time and then sip the old coffee. I think we lost. We either lost Vinny or we lost me. I think we lost Vinny. We lost Vinny. Anyway, yeah, this happens when you're running stuff through the interwebs. Sometimes stuff doesn't go as planned. So yeah, I guess I'll take over till Vinny comes back. Thought I'd kick it off with him showing some passion for his Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, Jerry Jones, not the most liked person in Dallas right now. I don't know. I don't have much of an opinion on it. It's Deion Sanders, it's kind of a weird situation. Like you're gonna go away from McCarthy and then we got Vinny joining. we got a new Vinny, folks. Ready for this? Look at that. We got two Vinnies on the screen right now.
Bit of technical difficulties there.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was like, this happens when you're using the old interwebs to do an old podcast. But I was basically trying to just tell the people too, like I wanted to get your passion on the situation as well as
you wanted to get me riled up.
Yeah.
Well, you knew
what? It's just random.
Here we go again.
I'm going now.
We're good now. We're good. We're back on track here. Yeah. We're rocking and rolling. Everything's looking good.
Okay. All right. Sweet. Yeah.
But you knew what you were doing by getting me all riled up about Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys early on. I've been up since about 5:30 this morning at work and whatnot. So you knew I needed to get my energy back and get me nice and riled up. And here we are. Coach Prime, are you kidding me?
Hey man, prime time. Here, I'll do what I was doing before you got booted out of the thing. Prime time, baby.
No. Coach Prime is not leaving coaching college for an NFL job unless he's going to coach his son. Okay, if the New York Giants are able to draft Shedeur Sanders at number 3, which I don't think he'll still be available at 3, but either way, if they somehow get Shedeur Sanders, maybe he'll go and coach the New York Giants. They're not even looking for a head coach. They never fired Dable, so there goes that whole thing I just said. Shedeur's not going to go to the NFL unless he's coaching his sons. He's not going to, decide to all of a sudden go to the Cowboys, especially when he just got a 5-star quarterback, the number 1 quarterback in his class. He got to commit to Colorado, and now what? Deion's just going to pack up and leave that kid to deal with the mess at Colorado. No, Deion's not going to do that. All this Deion to the Cowboys talk. This was a rumor months ago before Mike McCarthy was even on the hot seat. I didn't think it was going to happen then. I don't think it's going to happen now. It doesn't seem right for either side. But Deion is a name that you throw out there because Jerry Jones is going to sign somebody who's familiar with the building, who's been with the Cowboys before, like maybe Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator in Philly, who used to be the OC in Dallas. Maybe Jason Witten is a name that's been thrown around, which I don't love because he has no coaching experience. Same with a name like Tony Romo, brilliant football minds, but I think they're both good at different things, between Witten and Romo. Witten is a great leader of men. He's going to get you riled up in the locker room. He's going to be a great Dan Campbell-esque coach. Tony Romo is a brilliant football mind, would be a phenomenal offensive coordinator. He's not going to be giving you the best pregame speeches and getting you riled up and getting you ready to bash your head into a locker. I don't see that out of Tony Romo. And he's got that lucrative deal with CBS doing play-by-play and color commentary for them. So I don't know who the Cowboys are going to pivot to. If I had to make a bet, I would say Kellen Moore is probably
I agree.
The most, I feel like Kellen Moore just makes the most sense for the Cowboys.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think he'd be the best fit. I think it's probably, I don't know. I feel like that's just who's going to go there. Yeah, I mean, just wanted to, give you a little, wake you up a bit. We had to wake you
Yep,
up. You're not a
yep.
coffee
Oh,
guy, you were
I'm
telling me,
awake.
so we had to wake you up.
I'm awake. I'm angry. I'm getting fed up. I'm getting mad at this
Hey, we got Vrabel,
stupid.
so we're chilling. Well, we're not
Yeah.
chilling. Like,
Well, yeah, but you got Vrabel, Drake May in year 2, the number 4 overall pick, the most cap space in the NFL
three,
going into free agency.
number three,
Yeah. They'll be fine.
number three overall pick.
No, the Giants have number 3.
Oh, I thought you were saying Drake May was the number 4 overall pick.
No. Yeah, this year number 4 overall pick, which I'm sure they'll use on either a wide receiver or an offensive lineman. Either
Yeah.
way, whoever they're taking at number 4, they're going to make Drake May's life much easier.
Oh, 100%, 100%. But yeah, we'll stop interrogating you now. I know. I feel like we could probably go our whole session, our whole segment, our whole show with you just riled up
Dude,
on
I
how.
could go. Oh man, we could do a 24-hour streamathon, and I could never stop talking about Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones and all the crap that he puts us Cowboy fans through. It's ridiculous. One thing is very clear. This is my last point on Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, and it's that Jerry Jones doesn't care about winning football games. He gets what he wants. He gets money in his pocket. They're one of the most valuable teams year in and year out, and he gets the media attention. Everybody's always talking about the Cowboys, whether they're good, whether they're bad. Media is all over the Cowboys year in and year out, and that's all Jerry Jones seems to care about. Doesn't care about winning football games or Super Bowl rings. Just cares about media attention and money. And that's why they will never win until Jerry Jones is gone. God, you got me all animated here, Bruce. Let's move on.
Yeah, we'll move on. We'll move on now. We'll get.
We'll talk about some actual good football teams that make the playoffs and have a chance at a Super Bowl ring. That being, well, I don't think either of these teams in the early Saturday game have a great shot at the Super Bowl, but we'll start right there. Saturday afternoon, wild card weekend, Chargers at Texans. What was your big takeaways, Bruce? As obviously we were talking right before this game happened when we were live on Saturday that neither of us really saw the Texans beating the Chargers, let alone putting an absolute butt whooping on them like they did. So what do you think went wrong for the Chargers or went right for the Texans to really give them, this huge game from CJ Stroud and everybody else?
I mean, yeah, CJ threw for almost 300 yards. Joe Mixon rushed for over 100. Nico had over 100. Like, their offense was clicking. CJ, it looked like he's back. He's back to where he was beginning of the season and into last season. Defensively, the Texans defense was insane.
Will McDonald was everywhere, or Willie Anderson. Literally everywhere.
Anderson was everywhere. Derek Stingley had 2 picks. Just in general, I mean, Herbert threw 4 picks. Yeah. Like, Eric Murray had a pick.
That was certainly bad from Herbert.
Kamari Lassiter had a pick, I'm pretty sure. Like, it was all Texans. I mean, the Chargers, they started off the scoring, whatnot,
Yeah, it was a good first quarter
had
for the Chargers.
his 2 field goals. But
yeah, and then his batted down extra point.
Yeah.
It was a rough game.
Yeah, his batted down extra point for 2, back the other way.
Yeah, I mean, it was a rough game all around. The Chargers early on, they were in complete control those first couple of drives, and really the whole first quarter. The Chargers drive down the field, back-to-back drives, long ones at that, and they can't seem to get in the end zone, so they got to settle for 3. And in that moment, I'm thinking to myself, they're letting the Texans hang around here. You cannot, especially in the playoffs, you can't settle for field goals. You got to at least get in the end zone. I mean, you're talking about an 8-point swing here. If they score touchdowns on both those possessions, they're up 14-0 instead of 6-0. Even with the Texans driving down the field, getting that 99-yard scoring drive and getting on the board with the touchdown, even then, they're still down by 7. Chargers, plenty of momentum still going their way. It'd be a completely different ballgame. But the way the Texans bounce back, DeMeco Ryans said it himself, that CJ Stroud just woke up. They put the game on CJ Stroud's shoulders in that second quarter, and especially early in the second half, and he took over. He was making some real good throws, and Justin Herbert, it's time to have a real conversation about this guy, because now, we're in year 7, year 8, 9 or something that Justin Herbert's been playing. He's been in the league for a long time. And he's always had plenty of excuses made for him, whether it be he doesn't have good coaching. All right, well, now you have national championship winning.
It's year 4.
Year 4. Gotcha. Sorry, much less time than I initially said, but still, you got 4 years in the NFL so far. Plenty of those, he might have had some coaching issues. Now you have your coach now. You have Jim Harbaugh, who's been to a Super Bowl, won a national championship. You have good coaching now. We saw a difference in the Chargers team this year, and we saw games where, especially that game against Denver earlier on in the season, back and forth, almost blowing a big lead to Denver. The Chargers of last year blow that game. They don't find ways to come back after blowing a lead. This year's Chargers were supposed to be different. We saw a difference. Not in the playoffs, though. Playoffs roll around, and right after that first quarter, you could tell something shifted. The Chargers abandoned the running game, and Justin Herbert, just some of those picks were just bad, man. One of them wasn't his fault. One of them he hit his tight end right in the hands and happened to get bobbled up in the air. And then, the other one, though, where he completely overthrew Ladd McConkey straight over his head, right into the defender's hands. And of course, one of those gets brought back for a pick six. It was just a bad game from Justin Herbert.
Yeah, and I mean, like the swing of the Chargers this season, I still think the Chargers are a good team, but the swing since Ladd McConkey came into his element has been insane. Like, he had, out of the, I think it was 242 passing yards from Herbert, Ladd McConkey had 200 of them.
Yeah.
Ladd McConkey had 9 receptions for 197 yards. They have, like Quentin Johnson had 5 targets, 0 receptions. Like, they have other weapons, and now that they're, Ladd McConkey is becoming their wide receiver 1. Yes, I think Ladd McConkey's a great wide receiver. He's shifty, he's fast.
Here we go again.
He's shifty, he's fast, he's just a good wide receiver.
Yeah. And Quentin Johnson has had some solid games too. I mean, week 18 especially, he had 15 receptions, 180 something yards. Yeah. Maybe a little lower on the receptions total, but still, he had a great game week 18. So he's shown that he has the ability to have big games. His drops is just a huge issue, and it was an issue during the regular season too.
Yeah, I mean, you're right on that, but at the same time, you can look at other guys. It doesn't have to just be McConkey. It doesn't have to just be Johnson. They have Will Disley. He's had big games this season. They have DJ Chark. He's been in the league. He's proved himself. Even Darius Davis, he's a kickoff returner, whatever. He's a
speed.
Throw the ball to him a couple times.
And with the cannon that Herbert has, he can throw it up to those speed threats, and they just burn their man. You don't need to make these spectacular catches. Just beat your guy on a go route, and Herbert can get you the ball in stride.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they played that game very poorly, and Herbert just was looking for McConkey. Yeah. And I am a big ambassador for Ladd McConkey. I am a big ambassador for Justin Herbert.
Great year.
I like both of them. But as much as I love seeing Ladd cook, if you lose by 20,
it's pretty much worthless at that point. He did have the one huge touchdown, which got them back in it for a second. I mean, they had a chance to be down 10 points right after that touchdown, and instead, Cameron Dicker, extra point, gets blocked. Rather than just catching it and kneeling it down, he bats it onto the ground. Now you have a live ball, and all of a sudden, Texans.
No offense to him, but he looked terrified in that situation, which I would be terrified.
He wasn't ready to get hit.
Do you realistically? One, how many times does that happen? Where it's behind, it gets deflected, but it's behind the line, but it's right to your. How many does that situation happen? Not very often. And then you put a kicker who's the smallest guy on the field, where you're telling him catch it and go down.
Yeah, his
Then what?
instincts are going to take over at that point.
Yeah, like then what? Then you get absolutely whopped by a bunch of D
A
linemen.
couple
Like
300-pound men jumping on your back.
that's what I'm saying. Like, do
Yeah,
you blame Dicker? No, but obviously have a little more awareness to figure out something else to do
yeah,
in that situation. I get you don't want to cover it up, but sometimes you gotta just take one for the
you got,
team.
yeah. You're playing football. I don't care if you're a kicker or a punter or even a long snapper. You're getting hit at some point. You can't be
Yeah,
a football player and expect to never get hit. So the fact that he couldn't even at least catch it and just kneel it down, it was just. I think he would have been fine with taking that hit. As a football player, he's got to be willing to do it. I think it
yeah,
was just in the moment, instinct took over, and all he could think to do was bat that thing away, expecting it to be like an incompletion or something by him doing that. But instead,
yeah,
Texans run it back, and now all of a sudden they're up by 13.
yeah,
And at that
exactly.
point, it was pretty much over from there. So
Yeah, and Nico Collins is he's a stud. He's coming
yeah,
back. He
he,
had
he
a
had a
couple
great
sleeper
game.
weeks, but he's a
He
stud.
he ended up with what do you have on the
122.
day? Yeah, 7 for 122 and with a one touchdown.
Yeah,
Yeah,
John Mechie
he's
with 8 targets, 4 receptions. Mechie was getting targeted early.
he was that
When you're in the
surprises me.
playoffs, you got to spread the ball. You got to spread the ball.
Yeah,
Hey, Stover had 4 receptions. Like
especially when they're
Steelers just
already
finding the
down.
open guy.
Yeah, and when they're already down Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs, so you're pretty much down to your wide receiver one, and then 4, 5, and 6. That's what you're running with. Still finding ways to get the job done. And Joe
Yeah,
Mixon, I think, played a big part in that. They weren't really establishing the run much in the first half, and then second half starts. You see, especially, I think Joe Mixon had like 50 of those yards in just the fourth quarter.
yeah,
So over time, they started to wear away at that Chargers defense, and by the second half, Chargers defense just looked soft, and that was all she wrote at that point. But moving on to the other game from Saturday night in the wild card round, uh, Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, Pittsburgh Steelers in Baltimore. This one a little bit closer on the scoreboard. Pittsburgh was only down a touchdown at one point, but this was two touchdowns at one point with the Van Jefferson reception from Russell Wilson, and then what do the Ravens do? Drive it right back down the field. Derrick Henry with the long 44-yard rushing touchdown to pretty much put the game away. I'm not really too surprised at this outcome, Bruce, but yeah, it's the Steelers. I mean, they got some question marks going into the offseason.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, the stat the box score makes the Steelers look a little better than I feel like the game actually went. Like
Yeah,
they
it
lost by
looks like Russ had a
14.
good game.
Yeah, Russ threw for 270. He 20 for 29, 2 touchdowns. I mean, if you watch the game, I just don't think it was like, yeah, I guess maybe I'm wrong. The stats,
I
these
don't know.
stats are
You
right,
watch the
but
game. He didn't look great at some points.
yeah, nobody looked that good. Pickens finally figured out how to use his hands again following week 18.
He finally got some catches.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's another team where obviously you have Pickens, he's kind of your main guy. Well, he is your main guy, but then you have guys like
Yeah.
Mike Williams. You have Mike Williams, he gets like a reception a game. It's like
Hmm.
you got
Yeah,
Van Jefferson, he's a speedster. You got Calvin
Calvin Austin.
Austin. Like,
Yeah, but these guys aren't built to win playoff games. They're fine receivers, but
yeah, but
those
like
guys aren't going to help you
spread
win
the
a
ball.
playoff.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I get you. Try and at least spread the offense out. Try to make yourselves a little bit less predictable. But I mean, Russell Wilson. I mean, he did all right. He definitely looked bad at certain points, like I said. But box score tells a different story. It says that he had a decent game. But if I'm the Steelers, first thing I'm thinking is I'm figuring out whether or not George Pickens is a part of this team's future, and then you got to figure out the situation at quarterback because obviously Fields and Russell Wilson both free agents. Steelers. I'm not sure exactly where they pick in the draft, but anywhere around like 18, 19, or 20. So you're not getting a top quarterback with that draft pick. I mean, where do they go from here? Do they re-sign Justin Fields? Do they bring back Russell Wilson? Do they go elsewhere? A lot of question marks for this Steelers team. And I see a lot of people talking about Mike Tomlin and the fact that he hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. But I'm personally, I don't know about you, Bruce, but I'm not in the company to, fire Mike Tomlin. I think this is more of a front office issue than anything, that
Yeah.
they haven't gone out and acquired any talent to help Mike Tomlin out and actually give him a decent football team to manage since the days of Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, and Antonio Brown.
Yeah, I agree. It's. I mean, I don't know. It's just a weird situation there. I feel like it's like every time you watch that team,
The
it's like,
vibes just seem off.
I mean, like Artie Smith.
Something just doesn't seem right.
I feel like Artie Smith, the OC, just I don't know. I feel like sometimes he makes some weird decisions. Like they ran the ball 11 times. Well,
yeah, that jumped out at
me.
me.
Russ.
Yeah, like you give the ball to your running back only a handful of times, and you only run how many? What do they have? Like 48, 50 rushing yards the whole game?
Like 29 rushing yards.
29 rushing yards the whole game.
29 That's what I'm saying. Like, if you think about it, Russ went 20 for 29 for 270 and 2.
That is absurd.
Think about if you ran the ball and you set him up for more better, high quality chances.
You got to establish the run to make the passing game easier.
That's what I'm saying. I don't care that you went down 21-0. Like, who cares? Don't just try to sling it. And yeah, he made it kind of work. But the second half, it kind of just looked like Baltimore was like, okay.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing when Baltimore can run for, what do they have, like 280 rushing yards against them as a team? Derrick Henry close to 200.
It was 299 because I remember looking and I remember
299 yards on the ground, 186 of them coming from Derrick Henry. If the Ravens can run the ball like that next week against Buffalo, I think we're going to see Ravens. If they can run the ball like that again, if they beat Buffalo against Kansas City, we might see the Ravens in the Super Bowl. Because if they're averaging,
don't count out the Texans. Don't count out the Texans. Don't count out the Texans. Look good.
I know that. Counting out the Texans burned me last week. I'm counting them out this week.
Exactly.
Listen, Texans, it was a great win. All right. You got that, chip off your shoulder. Everyone said that it was a bye week for the Chargers. Everyone knew that the Texans weren't playing their best football down the stretch. They're not going into Arrowhead and beating Kansas City. Take your win, enjoy it. They're not going into Arrowhead and beating Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I just don't see it.
I mean, we didn't think they'd be beating the Chargers.
You're right. Anything's possible.
Bro, I don't care.
Have they released what the spread is for that game already? I got it.
7.5.
7.5. Surprisingly, the Lions are bigger favorites against Washington.
Yeah, well, Lions are a good football team. I don't care that Kansas City has Patrick Mahomes and they went 15-2 and they're this, that, and the other thing. Don't
16-1, or no, they did go 50-2.
Yeah, don't care. Don't care. They're not a good football team. They're like a solid football team.
They're back-to-back Super Bowl champions, Bruce.
Yeah, I mean, I know that, but like, I'm saying
they still got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes.
I'm saying this season, they're not going all the way this season. They are not going all the way this season.
Look, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I mean, I can't bet against the Chiefs. They always seem to find ways to win.
Dude,
statistically
I'll throw the
speaking,
house this week on the Texans.
God, Bruce is gonna lose all his money.
Luckily,
we might need some live reaction. We might need some live reactions to this. Chiefs
maybe we start a new segment. We'll discuss that on the non-live
in the days leading up. Yeah. But all right. Let's keep moving here. Of course, Steelers. Lots of question marks for them. I mean, everyone knew going into that game that they were going to have a real tough time defeating the Baltimore Ravens. Nobody was really giving the Steelers much of a chance. I think it was the 9.5 point spread in that game too.
Yeah, it was.
But if you're the Steelers, you got to acquire some talent. Especially with a coach like Mike Tomlin, who,
look at the defense.
Yeah. When you got T.J. Watt and Joey Porter Jr., Patrick Queen, all these guys, now it's time to get somebody to help you out on offense. And And another
And
thing,
Hayward.
the offensive line. All right. I'm not going to sit here and say they need a new running back. Najee Harris is still a pretty solid running back. But when he's getting hit in the backfield every single time, that's why you abandon the run, because you can't get a single hole open up for your running game. If you're not able to run the ball, you're not winning.
And I feel like they just knew, like, the Ravens are going to put up crazy numbers. Like, it's just obvious. So I feel like their whole mentality, whether it had been Mike Tomlin, whether it had been Russell Wilson, whether it was Artie Smith, like, whoever it was offensively that made the decision, we have to pass the ball. I get it. Like, don't get me wrong. I 100% understand where you're coming from, because the Ravens are going to put up at least 4 touchdowns. Like, but
it wasn't working.
But clearly
it almost like the Steelers had given up before the game started.
Yeah.
It's almost like they went into it knowing that they were done.
Yeah, I mean,
which is I don't know, under Mike Tomlin, I don't expect that sort of mindset, but who knows? Maybe we're just in a new era of football. Moving on to the Sunday games, starting with the early one Sunday at 1:00. It was the Buffalo Bills trouncing the Denver Broncos. I think I used the word trouncing correctly. I hope I did.
I think so too. But, hey, man, we're not English.
It sounded right. No.
It sounded pretty cool.
It sounded right coming out of my mouth. But anyways, the Bills with the big victory, 31-7. You look at the scoreboard and the box score, it looks like the Bills dominated this game, but this was only a 10-7 game going into halftime. And the Broncos were winning at the end of the first quarter. Bills just turned it on in the second half and really got this offense going. So, I mean, obviously with them winning and Baltimore winning, as we just discussed, this sets up a pretty intriguing matchup in the divisional round with the Baltimore Ravens coming to Buffalo. That's what I think too. I think we're going to get the game of the year, but Bills, of course, easy victory against Denver. Bruce, your big takeaways from the Bills and the Broncos wildcard matchup.
I mean, obviously, Bills are the Bills. That's what I put. Bills are the Bills.
That's all you can say. Bills are the Bills.
Yeah, it's like James Cook, 120 rushing. Curtis Samuel, 68. He had that touchdown. Props up for Bo. Bo came out slinging. Bo found Troy on his third play of the game. Like, Bo found Troy Franklin, 43 yards to the house. It was looking good. It was looking good early for Denver, but rookie quarterback, you made the playoffs
in Buffalo
under Sean Payton in Buffalo. Like, I see big things coming from this Broncos team in the future. Unfortunately, you can't go into Buffalo and expect to get a clean walk with it, and kind of fell apart after that.
Yeah, I mean, the Broncos are still going to be a solid team. They still have a great defense, led the league in sacks going into this game, and I think we're third in overall rushing defense. So their defense is fine. On the defense side of the ball, they'll be good. Offense, they get another wide receiver, to pair up with Courtland Sutton. And if they get a solid running back that they can use in both the passing and rushing game, because that's what Sean Payton loves. You look at Sean Payton's running backs when he was in New Orleans, Reggie Bush, Alvin Kamara, Darren Sproles, all quick, elusive guys that you can use in multiple outlets on the offensive side of the ball. You can run the ball with them.
They have throughout the season.
But they don't have that main guy,
Yeah, I mean,
like if the Broncos draft Cam Scatterbo, look out, because now this offense is pretty loaded.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to cut you off there, but like I said, like Javonte is kind of the power back, and then you got Jaleel McLaughlin, who's kind of a receiving back, but they don't really use him that well. Mm-hmm. And he's not like that, go-to kind of guy. But yeah, I think it was just this is
they had some solid guys in the running back room. A few solid guys, but no big running back star to kind of lean on. And it's your rookie quarterback's first playoff game. You want to be able to lean on the run there. You can't just put the ball in your quarterback's hand and be like, hey, go figure it out, carry us to the next round. It's a rookie, he's going to have some good moments. He's going to have some bad moments. And that's exactly what we saw from Bo Nix and the Broncos. But I mean, this Bills offense, they poured it on in the second half. James Cook, I think he was already at 100 rushing yards at halftime.
It was crazy. I just want to go out there, and I want to go out on a whim and say, I don't know if Ty Johnson's touchdown was a touchdown, and it might be because I'm a Patriots fan, but I swear his foot hit the ground out of bounds before his other knee, whatever, came down. So
Well, you know what? Even if it wasn't, the Bills still would have
Yeah, I
won
mean, it didn't
24 to
really
7.
matter.
It wasn't going to make a difference, but I hear what you're saying. But yeah, Buffalo's, James Cook
It's a
obviously.
side note. It's a side
Yeah,
note.
yeah, just had to toss that in there. Overall, impressive win for the Bills. James Cook becomes the first running back, or I guess first player on the Buffalo Bills to rush for 100 yards in a playoff game since Thurman Thomas did it 30 plus years ago. And I can't remember the year, 1994, something like that.
Yeah,
Somewhere around that era, 30 years ago. So
probably one of those seasons where the Bills lost 4 Super Bowls in a row.
yeah, yeah, had to be one of those years. So big game from James Cook. Josh Allen still finding ways to get everybody involved. That's the scary thing with this Bills offense. They always say it. They're an everybody eats offense, and it's been working for them. They don't have a standout wide receiver one, but when you got to worry about is Curtis Samuel getting the bomb this game, is Keon Coleman going to show up out of nowhere? Is it going to be Khalil Shakir? Is
Yeah,
it going to be Dawson Knox? They have plenty of
Dalton
Dalton
Kincaid.
Kincaid. Yeah, like they have all these weapons on the offense. Are they all pro talents? No. Don't forget Amari Cooper's there as well. They're
Yeah,
not all pro level wide receivers, but they're solid guys who can make plays. You're not going to expect them to make a play every single possession, but they make one or two big plays, like that Curtis Samuel touchdown that we saw. They get the job done. So Bills offense certainly looking solid, and I'm excited for this matchup against Baltimore. I think last I checked, it was a 1 point spread in
yeah,
favor of
1 point.
Baltimore.
Baltimore favorite. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, bud. It's gonna be a burn.
it's gonna be a good one. That
We'll see if
game
it tops
Sunday
Lions
night.
Bills because Lions Bills was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah,
Really
yeah. I
was.
mean, that who knows? Could be a potential Super Bowl matchup there between the Lions and the Bills. Moving on to the next Sunday afternoon game, that being with the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Bruce, Packers were beat up in this one. I mean, I don't really know what else you can say, but the Eagles just simply, took control of the game in the second half. They let them hang around early, but Eagles still looking solid. They certainly have an opportunity here to if they can beat, who do they have? They're gonna have the Rams.
The Rams. They
They
have
have
the
the
Rams.
Rams. That's certainly a team that they can beat and make it back to the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Packers are kind of in a situation similar to the Steelers. I wouldn't say it's as bad as the Steelers, but like, I get Jordan Love's obviously a lot younger than Russell Wilson, and he's had potential. He showed signs, but I don't know. The Packers are just like they also don't have that wide receiver one. They do have guys that
Hmm.
can spread the ball too. They do tend to spread the ball fairly well, whether it be to Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Tucker Kraft, whatever, Romeo Dobbs. But I don't know. The vibe about them is just. I feel like it's kind of similar to the Steelers in the sense of like what's
They're
really
a big
going on
playoff
there.
team, not really doing much past that. I get you. I
Yeah, I mean
mean, they
it's
were they
yeah.
were beat up, man.
Jordan
They
Love threw 3 picks.
Yeah, Jordan Love certainly had a rough game, and that's kind of what you expect from Jordan Love. He's a very Brett
Yeah,
Favre type player where he likes to sling the ball, and sometimes it's going to burn you. And this is one of those games where it burns you. 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Other games that's 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions because it works out. But I mean,
they
they
jumped
were
out.
yeah,
Or,
they were beat up too. They already lost Christian Watson the week prior against the Bears. He's
yeah,
done for the season. Now you're down to you lose your wide receiver one. Now all of a sudden Jaden Reed, who just got back from a concussion 3 weeks prior, he hits his head hard in the end zone. He's out for the rest of the game. All
yeah,
right, still got a couple guys. Then Jaden Reed falls hard, hurts his upper arm, shoulder, elbow, whatever it was. He's out for the game. Now your wide receivers are Dontavian Wicks, Tucker Kraft, and Josh Jacobs, and a bunch of no
Cole
name.
Melton,
Yeah,
Emmanuel Wilson, like
somebody named Heath, like a bunch of dudes that nobody's
Malik
ever heard of.
Heath.
Malik Heath, yeah, and you saw Malik Heath while the Packers still had a chance in this one to make a bit of a comeback. Fourth down, Jordan Love hits Malik Heath, can't get both feet in bounds, and it wasn't the best throw from Love either. But an experienced wide receiver is going to at least give you a better opportunity to get both feet down and make the completion. So Packers simply unlucky due to the injuries. Defense looked really good in the first half, keeping them in that game in that first drive in the second half. After that, it was like as soon as the Packers finally got a long drive, Josh Jacobs pretty much single-handedly wills them down the field to score. All of a sudden, the Packers defense couldn't keep up. But that's the guy I really feel for from this game is Josh Jacobs. I mean, the guy was giving it quite literally everything he had, and still, Packers come up short.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because it feels like they have the team. Maybe they could go for a little bit more weapons here and there, whatnot. But
yeah,
is it a team problem? I mean, they also had a lot of fumbles. Like, don't get me wrong, they had a lot of fumbles, a lot of turnovers.
True. They did have a lot of turnovers in this game.
Well, I think it was 3. I think only one of the fumbles was.
They had the one kickoff return. Yeah, the one kickoff return right when the game started. That was a bad fumble. Sets the Eagles up for the touchdown. The 3 interceptions. That was the only
fumble they actually lost.
Yeah. But still, anytime the ball's on the ground, even if you don't lose it, still doesn't look good for your team.
Yeah. And so I mean, hey, is it like a player issue, or is it a front office issue? Is it a Matt LaFleur issue?
No, certainly could be. Certainly a lot of questions surrounding the Green Bay Packers. I mean, their pass rush was also struggling in this game. The offensive line was beat up. I mean, you saw a real difference when I'm not sure the name of the offensive guard that got injured in that game, but when he went down, and all of a sudden they're trying to figure out who else they can sub in here. As I tried to Elgton Jenkins was the offensive guard who got injured in that game against the Eagles. As soon as he leaves the game, yeah, that's my boy. As soon as he is out of the game, you could see this Packers offensive line. The struggles came out of nowhere, like multiple holding penalties in a row. It was just a bad look for this Packers team. And, I certainly thought that the Packers had a chance going into this one because Jalen Hurts did not play his best brand of football. He did fine.
AJ Brown had 1 reception. Like he didn't need to throw the ball when you got Saquon. Like whether you're running an RPO, like as a straight up RPO, or just the knowledge of knowing as a defense that you have to deal with Saquon, a quarterback who can run, or an AJ Brown or a Devontae Smith. It's not as bad. It's not as dangerous as it is in say like a Baltimore or even in Arizona, because I feel like Kyler's a little bit more rushing heavy than Jalen is.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's just knowing that and knowing that they have almost a 2,000-yard rusher in Saquon. It's a scary thing, and then when your offense isn't clicking, I feel like everything just kind of fell apart for the Packers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the Eagles.
Sorry, Mom, I know you're a Packers fan, but
the Eagles certainly didn't play their best football, but still found ways to get the job done. So impressive win nonetheless. They will take on the team which we are about to discuss, the LA Rams, I skipped a game. My bad, y'all. Sunday night, probably the game of the playoffs so far. It's the only close one we've seen, actually. The only game in the entire playoff so far that has been decided by one singular possession. Came down to the last play. The double doink field goal from Zane Gonzalez sends the Washington Commanders to the divisional round, where they will take on the Detroit Lions in Detroit. Bruce, this was, like I said, best game of the playoffs so far.
It was awesome.
It was absolutely phenomenal. Well, what was your big takeaways, of watching this Washington Commanders team led by rookie quarterback Jayden Daniels?
I was about to say, Jayden Daniels is the man, brother. He led the team in rushing. Brian Robinson didn't do much. Austin Eckler didn't do much. He threw for 270 yards, 2 touchdowns. They don't even have that deep of a receiving core like Terry McLaurin, Zach Ertz. Okay. You got their leading receiver is De'Ami Brown. They have Olamide Zaccheaus. Brother man, what are we doing here? It's crazy, but they look so good. They look so good doing it. And it's you think that the Bucs, obviously they did give them a fight. You think the Bucs had a better shot. You know what I mean? McMillan's come into his element recently. Yeah. I think I picked Tampa to win it too. But I think this was the game where it was for me, it was a pick 'em. But You know, they have Mike Evans, obviously. McMillan's coming to his own. They have Cade Otton,
Bucky Irving.
Bucky Irving, Rashad White in the backfield. But, like, I don't think any other receiver saw the ball. Unless
Besides Mike Evans?
mistaken. I think Mike Evans. I think the only actual receivers to get a catch were Mike Evans, McMillan, and then Cade Otton.
Yeah, and Cade Otton's their tight end. So
yeah, and I think I don't think anyone else even
saw. No, you're
it.
right. Mike Evans had 7 for 92 and a touchdown. McMillan 2 for 41. Cade Otton 2 for 32, and the other 4 completions were to the running backs, Bucky Irving and Rashad White. So as good as this Buccaneers offense is, as loaded as they are, the game plan clearly it was revolving around these players, and eventually the Commanders caught on to that and were able to get some stops. But Jayden Daniels, like you said, he's by far the most impressive rookie this season. Brock Bowers up there, but his team obviously not in the playoffs, so we're not going to dig too deep into that. But Jayden Daniels, to lead this team that won, 3 games last season, 4 games, and to completely, change in culture in Washington since the new owner, whose name has escaped me, bought the team. Dan Quinn has been probably the hire of the year. He's back, coaching in the playoffs. That was a guy that really sucked to see leave the Cowboys because I know he was a great defensive coordinator. Yep. The draft, they drafted well in Jayden Daniels and all these other guys that they were able to pick up. So this Commanders team, I'm fine with rooting for them. Yes, I'm a Cowboys fan, but I'm fine with rooting for the Commanders. It's not like I'm rooting for the Eagles or the Giants, who I have these headstrong rivalries with. I don't really mind seeing the Commanders good. They've been kind of irrelevant in the division for so long, and to see them succeed, it's refreshing. And I like Jayden Daniels as a player, as a person. So his ability to really carry this team. yeah. He was a nice guy. We met over coffee one time. It was great. But no, I mean, he completely took this game over. The fact that you mentioned it, the fact that he led this team in rushing yards. I've been boasting this whole hour about how if you can't run the ball, you're not winning in the playoffs. Well, Jayden Daniels said, screw that. I'll take over if I need. I'll find, whoever, De'Ami Brown, he's open. I'm getting it to him. So an impressive game overall for the Commanders.
That's the thing too. Like a lot of these teams, it's like when we talked about the Chargers, it was kind of just a focus on lad show. Like also when you come to the playoffs, you got to run, but you also got to find the open guy. Mm-hmm. Like, don't worry about trying to get it to your best player.
Yeah, you can't get too used to going after one guy every single play, because it's not going to fly in the playoffs. Teams are going to pick up on that. They're going to shut you down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's what happened.
Mm-hmm. That's what happened. So Commanders, they move on to Detroit, which I'm sure will be a super tough matchup for them. I mentioned earlier, 9.5-point underdogs in that game are the Washington Commanders. But
it'll be a fun one.
Yeah, it would be. It would be quite the story. See the Commanders if they were able to beat Detroit and make it to the NFC Championship. Oh, that would be something. But in order to do all that, they obviously need to beat the Detroit Lions, the number 1 team in the NFC. Not an easy task by any means.
Yeah, let's say.
But the Detroit Lions, they got that number 1 seed by defeating the Minnesota Vikings in Week 18, knocking them down to the 5th seed, if I remember right, 4th seed. They took on the number 3 seed LA Rams in Glendale, Arizona. Obviously, game moved due to the the fires out.
The Vikings? Are you saying the seed of the Vikings?
Yeah.
They're the 5 seed. They're the 5 seed. The 5 seed? Vinny? We lost Vinny again, everybody. But they were the 5 seed. They're the 5 seed. And when they took on the LA Rams, the game obviously, like Vinny was saying before we lost him, was moved to Arizona due to the wildfires taking place in LA. First off, thoughts and prayers, I think, for both me and Vinny. I think Vinny would agree. Going out to everybody who's dealing with anything in LA right now, with the wildfires sweeping through. I know we have a buddy out there. He luckily did not get hit. He was 15 to 20 miles away from where it all happened. He didn't have to evacuate, but thoughts and prayers to everybody who's dealing with this situation right now. Hopefully everything gets better soon. It's not something easy to go through. I couldn't feel or express how it feels, but I do hope everything goes well for everybody out there in Arizona as we get or in LA, pardon me, as we get Vinny back in here. Vinny keeps, I was just saying, thoughts going out to everybody in LA. Obviously, I brought up our buddy Ryan. Luckily, he's fine. He's 15, 20 miles away from where it all happened. Didn't have to evacuate, but I said probably from you too and me. Thoughts going out to everybody out there in LA. Oh, we lost Vinny again. But yeah, not a lot of matter. But yes, thoughts going out to everybody out there. But I'll move on now to the game that did take place in Arizona. The LA Rams. Sorry, my AirPods dying. I guess I don't know what's going on. Lots of things are happening right now. LA Rams taking on the Minnesota Vikings, and as you can see, is Sam Darnold done? They had JJ McCarthy. Sam Darnold did not look that great. Neither did the O-line, to be honest. Sam Darnold, he was sacked 8 or 9 times. I mean, he was trying. You could tell he was trying, but I don't know. It was the Rams were just on a different level. You had Kobe Durant. He with the pick for the Rams, he picked off Sam Darnold, and then why am I blanking on something else weird that happened? The Jared Verse fumble recovery for a touchdown. Jared Verse is an absolute stud. But yeah, the Rams, you could just see the Rams. They came in hot. They came in ready to play. They came in. You could tell Matt Stafford even said he was doing it for the people in LA that were dealing with the fires, and they proved that to a T. He was spreading the ball around. Obviously, Puka the past couple of weeks. It's kind of like last season. It was Cooper Kupp. It was Puka Nacua. It was kind of one big fella per game. But this game, it looked like, or the past couple games actually, it's looked like Puka has been their go-to guy. And it wasn't necessarily the deal last night. Last night it was Higbee. Well, it was Higbee and Puka, but Higbee got hurt, if I'm not mistaken. And then, Cooper Kupp 1 reception, Demarcus Robinson 1 reception, Kyron rushed for 76 yards. But on the side of the Vikings, a lot of missed throws from Darnold. Yeah, he was 25 for 40. It's not terrible numbers. He sacked 9 times. Aaron Jones wasn't as involved. As Vinny has said in the past couple of games, as we get him back here, you need a run game to be able to win in the playoffs. And it wasn't as anticipated as you could from a running back like Aaron Jones. But we'll shift over to Vinny now. Vinny, what were your thoughts on that game taking place in Glendale?
Yeah, look, I'm not crazy surprised that the Rams pulled out the win. I knew that they were going to be a force to be reckoned with. They were getting hot right at the right time going into the playoffs, and you knew how explosive that offense was. What really impressed me was the way this defense absolutely swarmed Sam Darnold. 10 sacks, 9 or 10, either way. An insane amount of sacks given up by the Minnesota Vikings, which is something I did not expect whatsoever. And I heard you mentioning unable to really get the running game going for the Vikings. So that's obviously a big factor, especially when you have a quarterback like Sam Darnold, who he had a fine season, but you really don't know. Is Sam Darnold, did he reach a new level? Did he have a lucky season? There's a lot of questions around Sam Darnold, and I don't know how much. Nobody knew how much to trust him going into the playoffs. I certainly don't trust him very much now after these last 2 games. He looks back like he was the New York Jets Sam Darnold again in Week 18 against Detroit, and in this wild card matchup, he looks like he regressed right back to New York Jets Sam Darnold. And you feel for him because he lost himself quite some millions of dollars with his play the last 2 weeks, but I'm sure there's still going to be a team out there that gives him a deal. There's a couple interesting options for him. The Vikings could franchise tag him, but now you're franchise tagging $40 million for Sam Darnold. when at some point JJ McCarthy his contract is going to be up and you're going to have to pay him anyway. So
Yeah.
you at least want to get the most out of out of JJ McCarthy as you can while he's still cheap and you can really build a good team around him. As far as Sam Darnold goes, I don't know, especially for the Vikings, I don't think it's worth a long-term extension. He didn't really prove to you that he can get you back to the Super Bowl. Didn't really prove that he can make you a real contender. They have a great head coach in Kevin O'Connell and a great team around Sam Darnold, so they looked very good this year. They need that star quarterback if they're going to make it to the next level. So I don't really know what I expect out of Sam Darnold here, but he's going to get a deal somewhere. Maybe the New York Giants, if they can't draft a quarterback, maybe, I don't know, the Cleveland Browns, if they decide to not take a quarterback. There's
Maybe he
certainly
goes back to the Jets.
Jets, certainly a possibility. There's plenty of options out there for him as far as teams that need quarterbacks. The Raiders, another one. So I'm sure somebody is going to offer a bag at Sam Darnold. I just don't think it's the Vikings, and I think that's good for the Vikings. I think it's time you give JJ McCarthy his chance. He was going to be the starter this year anyway till he got injured. So Why change the course now? Just because Sam Darnold had a pretty decent year.
Yeah. And I mean the Rams just look good. The Rams
I didn't even mention the Rams. Yeah, they played very good.
I mean, yeah, obviously the Sam Darnold, the big situation, it's a big talk as to what's going to happen there in Minnesota. I agree in the sense that I think JJ's going to take over. He looked good before he got hurt. Obviously won the Natty. That doesn't necessarily matter when it comes to the NFL, but he looked good leading up to his injury. And then they had to bring in Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold, he did his job in a sense of being the backup coming into this season and leading a team to 14-3 and then to the playoffs. But you could tell nothing was clicking. A lot of missed throws. He had open receivers. There's one that pops in the head where he had Jettas for a 45-yard reception and he overthrew him.
Just
he was spreading the ball. It just wasn't
a lot of mistakes. Well. Yeah, I mean Sam Darnold just simple mistakes. Like you saw it in Week 18 against the Lions. He had guys open for touchdowns at certain points in the game. Couldn't whether it was a confidence thing, whether he didn't believe that he could fit the ball in those tight gaps. He didn't get the job done against Detroit. He didn't get the job done against the LA Rams. So I mean the Vikings, kind of similar to my Cowboys and the Steelers and, some of these teams that we've mentioned today, solid teams make it to the playoffs start, and all of a sudden things just look completely different. This defense for the Vikings was the side of the ball that I thought they were really going to have to lean on in this one, really, need the defense to, carry you in a sense, because you knew that the Rams offense was going to be good. You knew that Puka and Cooper Kupp and Kyren Williams were going to get some plenty of touches. And I mean, Matt Stafford, when you're facing a veteran quarterback like that, a Super Bowl winning veteran quarterback at that, it's going to be difficult. And yeah, Vikings just unable to get the job done. Can't say I'm too surprised. I did have Vikings winning because I thought they were going to learn something from that loss against Detroit, but apparently I was wrong. And, Vikings, they'll certainly be back next year. Kevin O'Connell's still a great coach. JJ McCarthy getting his chance at quarterback. I think we'll see a pretty solid Vikings team next year, but this year doesn't matter. They're back on the couch, just like the rest of us watching, like the rest of us fans.
Watching like regular fans.
Yeah, baby. Exactly. Watching like regular fans, as that's what we do on the regular fan show, by the fans, for the fans. And that'll pretty much bring us to the end here. Sorry for those technical difficulties. Sometimes sometimes it happens when you're doing live shows. These things happen sometimes, but we persevere. We keep on grinding through, and we'll have more for you on Thursday. We'll preview the weekend in sports. We'll dive into the NBA and whatnot. College basketball, as of course, that's one of the best things that I've been watching lately. Always a good time watching college basketball and seeing a nice different product, seeing some of these new stars that are going to be into the NBA very soon, like Cooper Flagg, who had an ACC freshman record 42 points against Notre Dame earlier this week.
Look good. Doing
had had to throw that in there. But thank you everybody for tuning in to this Tuesday edition of the Regular Fan Show. As Bruce, just like always, we'll see if today's the day he clutches up at the buzzer just off the back of the rim.
Bro, I even threw my basketball jersey on from when I used to play AAU, thinking to give me some luck. I don't know why. I don't know why. We'll leave it for next time.
Stay tuned, or tune in, I should say, on Thursday to see if Bruce can hit this buzzer beater.
Never.
Never. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. This is Vinny Fredericks, Bruce Juno of the Regular Fan Show, signing off. We'll be back at it Thursday morning, 11 a.m. See you later, everybody.
Deuces.